Hello everyone, this is Tetrafolium, and I'm here today to bring you a video titled Top 10 Abilities in ADV. I hope I don't have to explain too much about what this is going to be, but I'd like to spend this time that I usually would do that to introduce my guest for today, the GOAT, my coach, Benji.
Yo, what's up? What's up?
Uh,
Yeah, we're gonna fully explain what an ability is and how all the coding went into inventing this for Gen 3.
I mean, when you think about it, uh, Gen 3 has the best generational gimmick, which was abilities. It's so enduring. We're still dealing with it
It,
today.
there's an argument here. There is an argument because Gen 2's generational gimmick is items, which is pretty big.
Ooh, okay. I mean, I guess I would argue, at least what I value in Pokemon, that EVs are probably the biggest. And I know that Gen 2 had, what, DVs? Is that what they were called?
Well, I mean, Gen 1 and 2 both have EVs, DVs, where you can like
You max
pick,
them all.
or you can make your yeah, but you can max them all out in those two gens. So
Mhm.
this is the first one where you have to pick what you're good at
Right.
instead of just being able to have Snorlax have 160 HP maxed out, but also max out defense and special defense.
Jeez.
Uh,
That sounds like it would be a nightmare to play against. Which is, I mean, Gen 2 is right there for you if you want to play that.
it's honestly really fun,
Uh,
but
is,
just don't go on ladder. It's so bad on ladder.
is there
It's
any
the worst.
is there anything in particular that you want the people who may not be familiar with you to know?
Not particularly. I'm an old gen, or I've played a lot of old gens, and I have thought a lot about old gens, and they're really fun. So I guess if there's anything I can say, although it probably doesn't matter to this audience, play some old gens. Don't just play Gen 3. A lot of old gens are actually really fun, as long as you interact with them in ways that minimize frustration.
Maybe one day I'll let you convince me to play Gen 2.
I mean, I'd probably try to convince you to play Gen 6. I think that's
Oh,
my
well,
opinion for the second best one.
Gen 6 is the generation I started on, actually.
Oh yeah, you're an Aegis Slash. You're an Aegis Slash kid.
That's right. My first time hitting top 500 on ladder before Aegis got banned. But
And then never again after
yes, and you're
couldn't
actually
get
right.
carried by your
You're
sword.
actually right, which is kind of tragic for Tetrafolium. But that's okay. That's okay. We'll let the middle schooler version of Tetrafolium have a little bit of grace.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, fair enough. But for real though, this is the generation that invented abilities. So like this is a big thing. They kind of knocked it out of the park with how many abilities they introduced and how like surprisingly well balanced all of them, but like maybe three are.
I mean, you're definitely right about that. I mean, there are some not so good ones, like Sturdy, for example, but uh, let's use that as a segue to explain what eligible abilities will be considered here and what we're rating them on. So, for starters, the abilities are only going to be considered in their Gen 3 state. So, Sturdy, unfortunately, I mean, I don't even think it would make the top 10 if it was in its Gen 5 state, but
No, I think it would have a little bit of juice here,
maybe.
personally. Because like 40 not having to worry about the OCO ever is pretty nice.
Yeah, actually, you know what? That's a good point. Then you could maybe afford to not run max Bedef if you wanted to have some physical defense for some reason.
And you
Uh,
could afford to boom. Ooh.
oh, true. Uh, yeah. So the abilities as they are in the modern gens, we're not considering them in this state. We're only doing the Gen 3, obviously. The
Mhm.
other thing is that abilities that are not available to Pokemon in OU will not be considered either. So Drought, Drizzle, Shadow Tag, Sand Veil, which is banned in OU, we are not going to be considering those. Um, if I had to say, I would guess Drizzle might be number two and Drought might be like three or four.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right.
Uh, and then I don't even know what I would say about Shadow Tag. Wobbuffet seems like ridiculously broken.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually I would put Drizzle 1 because it's attached to Kyogre instead of being attached to Wobbuffet,
I could see the argument for that. Um,
which gets us into the third.
right, is that abilities will be judged based on the Pokemon that they exist on, as well as how impactful that ability is to their role. So, for example, uh, like a Pokemon that is really good and bolsters an ability probably will get that ability raised, but a Pokemon that is really good that has an ability that has not much of a factor to its gameplay, like for example Skarmory with Keen Eye, probably not going to be rated that highly.
Yeah, Keen Eye is seen in more games than, almost any other ability, but unfortunately,
Right.
it's not because Sand Attack is everywhere.
I mean, I feel like if you ran Sturdy on Skarmory, you lose like 1% of its power, if even.
I feel like it's got to be less than that. How many times does Skarmory's accuracy get dropped? Like, is it really 1 in every 100 games?
Yeah,
I think it's less
probably
often
less
than
than
that.
that, right? All the Pokemon that would be trying to cheese you with that are afraid of getting roared anyway. So,
Yeah, but you
uh,
can dodge the roar now.
exactly, which is crazy to me. I can't understand that. That roar
No,
is
you
not
can
perfect
miss when you're
accuracy.
talking to someone.
We're also not going to be entertaining hypotheticals of if Xmon had Y ability, because then, like, obviously things like huge power and speed boost and Wonder Guard would get insane.
Yeah.
But we're going to be focusing on specifically the Pokemon that have them. So, unfortunately, because Shedinja is a quite bad Pokemon balanced around its ability, uh, we're not going to be giving much love to Wonder Guard here. So sorry to B/Utterfree, who
Uh,
I I
I
know is a
wasn't sure if
big
it was B slash
Shedinja.
Utterfree or if it was Jumpy who loved the Ninja.
Well, you know what, if Jumpy, if you're somehow watching this, I'm putting that on you that you love Shedinja.
Damn.
Uh, I'm going to get into some honorable mentions here. These were abilities that were definitely in the running, but did not quite crack our top 10. Uh, I'll start at the top with Torrent. Swampert with Torrent. It's actually really powerful, even on the defensive sets that tend to get down to low HP, because Swampert just tanks a lot of hits, and then getting that extra damage on a surf is really nice, but it's very, very powerful on the offensive Swampert variants, particularly Endeavor Swampert, which loves to get down to low HP.
Its whole job.
Uh, you'll notice that I didn't include on this slide Feraligatr and Blastoise, who, while do have the ability, and I mean, Blastoise maybe has a little bit of a niche in ADV OU. I'm only going to be including Pokemon that are UUBL ranked or higher. If I feel like there's a Pokemon that deserves a mention who is not meeting that criteria, we can still talk about them. But I mean, obviously, I don't think Torrent is that good an ability because Feraligatr gets it. No offense to the Gator fans.
Tough.
Similarly, we have Blaze, which is kind of carried by Charizard, but it is also a factor on Blaziken and Typhlosion should you choose to use those Pokemon. I mean, Benji, you're a big fan of Charizard. You have your own Charizard set, even.
I do love Charizard so much. I also really love Blaziken. So the reason why Blaze is, or one of the many reasons why Blaze is so powerful on these fire types, is because unlike Swampert, they are not sand immune. So Swampert has to, well, for one, Swampert is slow, so if it gets knocked low, it usually is just going to die. So it like gets hit low, and then on that same turn, it'll fire off a water attack, and then it'll die next turn. The flip side is that the fire types are fast and they're offensive, so they like really care about hitting hard. And one of the things they can do is they can sub down into Blaze range, and then because Sand is like perpetually in every single game, until you get them dead, all the way dead, they're just hanging out at choice specs damage on all their fire moves. And Blaziken, Typhlosion, Charizard are rocking with I think like 110 and 109 base special attack, firing off 120 base power fire moves. So like it's genuinely a problem having to switch into that if the opponent has positioned, such that your water type is chipped and there are spikes down, or your Blissey has been killed, or you don't have anything faster than them anymore. So Blaze is a really nice thing, as an example that we're getting into of how it's like great for the role. Torrent is good on a better Pokemon, yes, but Blaze helps these Pokemon do what they do better.
Right, I mean, that's very well put. You'll notice that I didn't give an honorable mention to Swarm or Overgrow. I think Overgrow is a little bit more obvious. Grass moves are kind of
It's
trash.
because he's a Meganium hater. That's why Overgrow is here.
Yeah, I mean, I just hate Meganium so much that I couldn't bear to see Meganium on my screen. But no, I mean, it's unfortunate. The grass moves have such low base power that even when you get into Overgrow range with something like Venusaur or Sceptile, the increase in power is not ultra significant. Also, grass is resisted by so many common types, the nail in the coffin being steel, that, like, I don't know, it's not that great to be in Overgrow range. Although, Sceptile with the high crit rate on Leaf Blade maybe could get something going with Overgrow.
Yeah, man. If it crits, it'll do 16 to Skarmory. Huge.
Swarm is, I guess, a little bit more nuanced because it is fantastic on Heracross with the 120 base power Mega Horn, but
that's amazing.
I do think that Heracross, like, it still sometimes wants to use Guts. Might depend a little bit.
Tetra the Gambler. keep up the sleep
machine.
Talk propaganda.
Yes. Although I do think that there are some.
No, being able to eat a Will-O-Wisp is great.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Not to say that Swarm is a bad ability, but given that it's only represented really by Heracross, I mean, who else even gets it? Scizor?
I think Scizor gets it, but Scizor doesn't get any like bug moves of note.
Right. I mean, Silverwind, I guess.
Base 90. Wait, I just realized that's just the technician boost it gets on Silverwind in the next gen. Oh, that's depressing.
Oh, but it's unfortunate because Silverwind becomes a special.
Is now a special move.
Gen. So this is why this physical special split should have never happened. That's my hot take.
Definitely.
And then last honorable mention I'll give to Pure Power. I'm not going to include Huge Power because while, yes, it does the same thing, Azumarill is, I mean, not very good, to put it charitably. But Pure Power on Medicham is really nice. I think if you were going to give this ability to a Pokemon, giving it to a fighting type is really, really strong, especially a fighting type that gets Shadow Ball. Now, the rub with Pure Power, like, it's the hypothetical best ability for, like, 20 different Pokemon. Like, imagine if Groudon had Pure Power, or Slacking had Pure Power, or whatever. But my argument would be that Pure Power, by design, has to be on kind of subpar Pokemon, because otherwise it would completely break the game balance. Not that I think that Game Freak had game balance all that in mind when they were making these games, but Smogon would certainly ban Medicham if it had like a really functional attack stat on top of Pure Power.
Yeah, what you have to think about is that Pure Power, because it is applied 100% of the time on like Torrent or Blaze, it is functionally just like an extra 110 to 130 base base attack stat increase on Medicham. Like it doesn't have a 60 base attack. It has like 170 or something. It's as an ability just I mean that's a mega evolution. That's a mega evolution in all in one stat in Gen 3 with a much lower power level.
Which, I mean, to get on a tangent, it kind of floors me that Mega Metacham getting the attack boost to, I think, be base 100 and still keeping pure power was still not even considered like the best Mega Evolution in Gen 6.
Yeah, too slow.
Yeah, speed will get you, especially when we're talking
Speed will
about
get you.
the power level of Gen 6.
Yeah. I do want to make a quick note, though, here in the honorable mentions that what we see is a nice, like, rolling scale. We see, like, Torrent. This is attached to a good Pokemon, but it's a pretty good ability that is only great on, like, one set. We have Blaze. That is a great ability on basically all of these Pokemon, but it's not like the reason they're good. The reason they're good is being a fire type is very nice in a metagame that is so dominated defensively by steals. And then we have the Pokemon that is entirely justified by its ability. Like if Medicham, if you're running whatever the other ability is on Medicham, I think it's like telepathy or something. If you're running that, you're not running a UU Pokemon. You might not be running an RU Pokemon.
Yeah, in fact, I don't even think it's telepathy. What is it? Inner focus or something? No, Medicham only gets pure power in Gen 3, so
Oh, okay, cool.
we spared somebody from having a I remember one tournament that I played in Gen 6 where I brought Flame Body Talonflame back when Flame Body was not the ability you would want on your Talonflame. And I lost the game because of it.
Gale Wings was a very well balanced and completely appropriate ability in its original generation.
Comment down below how underpowered Gale Wings would actually be in Generation 3, because there's no good flying type moves to abuse with it. I guess Hidden Power Flying would be kind of crazy with it.
Hidden Power Flying would be nice. I think some things get Drill Peck that would actually... It depends on who you gave it to. It depends on who you gave Gale Wings to, probably.
Yeah, I feel like the only Pokemon who could really use it is Skarmory, maybe Zapdos, but enough of that tangent. Number 10, we're giving it to Rockhead. For those who don't know, Rockhead keeps a Pokemon from taking recoil damage, except in the case of struggle or if they take crash damage from something like high jump kick. Which, did you know that you don't take crash damage if you attack into protect in this generation?
I feel like I did remember that. I feel like I have seen that before when I was like looking up on Bulbapedia what high jump kick did.
Yeah, I remember seeing this because I saw a Medicham clicking high jump kick and said, oh great, I get a free Gengar switch and now it's dead. And then it failed and then didn't do the damage to Medicham and I was like, uh-oh, this is awkward. But the Pokemon who get Rockhead, Aerodactyl, Marowak, Steelix, and Rhydon are all decently capable of using...
They're usable.
Yeah. In particular, I think Aerodactyl is the poster child for Rockhead. Being able to have access to a 120 base power normal move on specifically a Pokemon that is running rock and ground coverage is actually quite nice. There are a handful of Pokemon, i.e. Flygon and Claydol, who would completely wall you otherwise. And being able to click Double Edge into them as a mid-ground is actually really good for the viability of Aerodactyl.
Yeah, something worth mentioning here is that, like, normally a Pokemon's strongest move is their stab move, and if you look at, you know, Marowak, Rhydon, and Steelix, you see, like, okay, yeah, they all have Earthquake. That's after stab, 150 base power. But Actually, Aerodactyl's strongest move into neutral coverage or neutral effectiveness is Double Edge. That 120 base power is more than Stab Hidden Power Flying, which is base 105, and more than Stab Rock Slide, which is base 112.5. So it gets access to its strongest move as a no drawback because of its ability. And when we say Rockhead saves you from recoil, we're really saying it lets you use Double Edge, because there's nothing else. It is the only thing.
Right. And then you'd be shocked how many Pokemon in ADV get access to Double Edge. I think it's like pretty much any Pokemon that can learn TMs.
For
Which
real.
I know that it's a tutor move, but virtually every Pokemon has access to Double Edge.
Yeah.
I've been on record in one Discord saying that Aerodactyl has the best stab Double Edge in ADV, which I know it's not stab, but functionally it is, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's its best move, or it's most damaging.
Mhm.
I was gonna just make a quick mention that, like, the other thing about this is that particularly Aerodactyl and Marowak, and if you choose to run like a choice band Steelix, which isn't a bad set at all, they all care that they have Rockhead, right? It's not just like, oh, I might as well make use of this move because I have this ability. It's like kind of vital to helping them be able to hit this realm of like, oh, we love clicking Earthquake, but we can't hit these levitators.
Mhm.
Having access to Double Edge is kind of foundational to what makes them so good as offensive threats. And so Rockhead isn't just an ability on good Pokemon. It's an ability on good Pokemon that is like pretty important to what makes them good, particularly in Aerodactyl's case.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have put it better myself. On to the next ability, I'm giving it to Clear Body, which prevents another Pokemon from lowering your Pokemon stat stages. Common misconception is that if you used a move that would lower your stats, Clear Body does not prevent that. Although I don't think that that's all that relevant in ADV. There are not very many moves that will do that. Overheat's the only
Well,
one that
it
comes
does
to mind.
actually kind of matter for the Reggies because they do run superpower on occasion, and it would be so nice.
That's actually a really good point. So,
Ugh.
unfortunately, you will not be stopping your superpower from dropping your stats, but you stop things like Intimidate from being able to drop them, which I think is really relevant for all four of the Pokemon on screen right now
You may notice something.
because they love to click the move Explosion.
Everybody here has bad mental health.
Yes. And I think that, I mean, you could maybe make the argument that it seems like it wouldn't be that useful on Regice, who is primarily a special attacker, whereas I would argue that the other three are primarily physical. I guess Registeel is kind of a unique case where
Mixed.
it,
Yeah.
it could be mixed. It commonly doesn't even run like real attacking moves other than Explosion.
Yeah.
But not being intimidated allows Regice to still have a decently threatening Explosion because Explosion is just so strong in ADV. Being able to threaten that into, say, like a pivot Salamence into Blissey, like that's not going to work so well for the Salamence user.
Yeah. And if we look here, we've got like Metagross loves Click and Earthquake. So pivot Salamence in, get the Intimidate, and then switch into something is like a big deal. But it doesn't get the Intimidate, so it's just fundamentally not a problem. And for the same reason, like Superpower on Regirock, yeah, you can pivot your Mence in on that, and it will take less. And you will still get an attack drop, but it's not cutting it in half like Superpower plus Intimidate would do. So it's like it matters for these Pokemon to be able to avoid that Intimidate. And it's also pretty nice to not have to deal with like the random psychic drops, to deal with the random other drops. It's pretty useful.
Yeah. And I think that's especially the case with more so Registeel and Regice, who have really respectable, in fact, I would say fantastic special defense stats. So they will commonly
Oh
be
man,
staying
amazing.
in versus these psychic type Pokemon who are using psychic as potentially their best move to hit these two. Although, I don't know, I guess a lot of times when you have psychic, you're using a fire type move. Still probably better to go for psychic into Regice, but I digress.
Yeah, and also they, a lot of the if they have such good special defense, in a different Pokemon with very good special defense, for example, Rachi versus Snorlax, oftentimes Rachi will be like, okay, well, let me fish for the psychic drop first, and then maybe I'll click a different move because maybe I want all of these fire punches to burn, but like I would like it if they did not zero damage.
Mhm.
So the fact that they never have to worry about that drop is honestly pretty nice, especially in Registeel's case, not having to worry about that -1 Spadef Fire Punch.
Right. It is a little bit unfortunate that there aren't any like 100% chance to drop your stat moves that are all that relevant in ADV. Because
Yeah.
we could get even more use out of this ability, but
Intimidate's pretty good, though.
yeah. Oh, you know what's actually it comes up very rarely, but charm is sometimes used as a measure, or even screech as a measure to punish last mon, particularly Snorlax, sometimes Suicune in the case of screech.
Mhm.
Being able to switch into any of these Pokemon to nullify that is also quite nice.
Yeah, like you can't just like force down a Metagross's attack if it's trying to like agility sweep you.
Mhm.
That's another huge thing.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Umbreon is not the
A
Metagross
little out of luck
counter that we
against these
need.
four. A little out of luck.
Moving on, number 8 is Serene Grace, which of course there's going to be some Tetrafolium bias here, because the poster child for Serene Grace is my favorite Pokemon, Jirachi. Um, it doubles the chance for secondary effects to occur, so that would include things like Psychic. Instead of being a 10% chance to drop special defense, it's now a 20%, or Fire Punch now has a 20% chance to burn from a 10%, or what is probably the most commonly seen is Body Slam going from a 30% chance to paralyze to now a 60%.
Oh man, what a gross.
It's huge because one of the ways to counter paralysis in this generation is to go to a ground type because they're not affected by the move Thunder Wave. But Body Slam can still paralyze ground types. So a 60% chance to paralyze a ground type switching into Jirachi is pretty devastating for a lot of the ground types.
It's the whole reason why defensive Rachi is unlikely to be successfully trapped by Dugtrio.
Right.
Uh, yeah, because you'll 2 a KO with a body slam every time.
Yeah. If you get the paralysis, they're slower. And I think another thing that is not all that talked about, it's probably makes a bigger impression if you're coming from modern gens to Gen 3, is that paralysis quarters the opposing Pokemon speed, not half. So getting paralysis on anything effectively makes them the slowest Pokemon on the field.
Yeah,
And there's no choice scarf for anything to offset that either.
like just for people who aren't aware, uh, Aerodactyl and Jolteon are the fastest Pokemon in the tier, and if you paralyze them, they are only faster than base 30 Pokemon if that base 30 Pokemon is completely uninvested. Like, they will still outspeed a Snorlax, but if that Snorlax puts, like, literally, I think it is 16 EVs into speed, then it's now faster than them. So it takes an unbelievable gulf, literally 100 base stat points in speed to overcome that paralysis gap.
Yeah, that's a huge deal. And Jirachi, because of the coverage moves that it likes to run, is just naturally pairing well with Serene Grace, regardless of whether it's running Body Slam or not. I mean, think about what moves you would want on your Jirachi. You probably want fire coverage, so fire punch is getting that double chance to burn. You might want electric coverage, so thunderbolt and thunder have double the
God,
chances.
Thunder. Uh, guaranteed para.
I mean, if you hit,
Same chance as Body Slam, but
yeah.
yeah, if you hit. If you account for the hitting, it's what, 42%? Not great, but
I mean, that's better than
still,
literally every other Pokemon using Body Slam, still.
yeah, it is.
Um,
Almost as good as Zap Cannon. Holy, think about that.
whoa. Ice moves, they're fantastic to have, and Jirachi gets access to Ice Punch. So now you have a 20% chance to freeze, which is probably the most evil thing that Jirachi does in Generation 3. Which is, if you're a Generation 4 player, that's probably a far cry from what you've had to experience. And Psychic for the stab, the chance to drop Spadef, like, this Pokemon can
It's perfect.
generate winning positions from positions that were like just a neutral, essentially. Think about like, say you call Mind as Blissey switches in, and then you go for a Psychic and get the drop immediately. All of a sudden, now you're gonna beat Blissey rather than trade with it. It may depend a little bit on the game state, but
Yeah, but no, it's a huge deal. The fact that, and again, all of these max options are available to Jirachi without Serene Grace, but the fact that it is Serene Grace, I mean, for one, it literally just doubles the odds that these things happen, and two, it sort of just presents these extra outs that you can play for and also sort of team build around. Instead of having to be like, I'm just gonna pray that I eventually get the Spadef drop, you can think to yourself, okay, well, 80% chance that I don't, that means all I have to do is click it 3 times and I'm more likely to get it than not. Like, that's a fundamentally different uh, Pokemon that you have to check when it is with or without Serene Grace.
now maybe a potential knock on Serene Grace is that the only other like actually viable Pokemon that gets it is Blissey, and Blissey does not run it usually. I mean, I don't know. Have you ever
I
run
wonder
Serene
if
Grace?
its ability would be on this list. No, but I have played against it. I have played against Serene Grace Blissey, and let me tell you something. Serene Grace Blissey players love to hax you and then say, well, I am Serene Grace, like a 1 in 5 chances in their favor.
Jeez. I'm sure that BKC would love to play against a player with that philosophy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I would love to watch the video on him responding to that game.
He'd lose. He'd lose that game because they'd get like 3 freezes, and that's actually a thing. Just as a quick aside, that like Superachi does is I've seen a Superachi get through a Spadef Celebi because he just froze it enough times that it had to switch out to Natural Cure, and then just couldn't like recover because it just kept getting frozen.
That's
It's
brutal.
absolutely brutal what this thing can do.
Yeah, that is why I love this Pokemon so much. Let's just be thankful that Ironhead came a generation late.
Oh man.
Do you think that Jirachi would be banned from ADV if it had Ironhead?
I don't think so. I think maybe we would have considered banning Ironhead though, because I do kind of feel like wouldn't Skarmory get really scary? Wouldn't it be kind of tough for like, oh, what if I just paraspam and then my Skarmory is also
Oh,
a late game
actually,
threat?
that's ugly. I didn't even think about that. Um,
Like, I'm nervous, man.
I think another move that we're maybe thankful that Jirachi didn't get was Meteor Mash. 40% chance to boost your attack
Oh,
in this generation? That would be insane.
oh man. Oh, an evil thing to put into the world.
Yeah. I still think that Doom Desire should be 100% accurate, though.
It should. Absolutely no questions asked.
But all right, enough of gushing about Jirachi. We get enough of that on the Tetrafolium YouTube channel.
Let's pick an ability that kills Jirachi.
Actually, good thing that you mentioned that. Number 7 is Magnet Pull, which I mean, I'm sure most of you understand it, but just in case you don't, prevents steel types from choosing to switch out, which is the verbiage that they use in Showdown, which I suppose is to differentiate like force switch opportunities like Roar and Baton Pass from
Yep.
like choosing to hard switch your Pokemon out.
Yeah.
So basically, the only Pokemon that gets this is Magneton. I guess technically Nose Pass and Magnemite get it as well, but if you're running those Pokemon, you're a sicko.
Or you're playing draft.
Yeah, or well, those two things are still the same. But in any case, uh, this ability, in my mind, is kind of carried in viability by how good the Pokemon Skarmory is. Not to say that this ability is completely useless outside of trapping Skarmory, but because this is the only way to consistently nail down Skarmory and stop it from getting multiple spikes throughout a game, I think we do have to give it some props for that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's one of these things where it's like every team has to be terrified of Skarmory because if you give it too many turns, it does just win the game. And probably the most consistent way to prevent it from doing that is to just slap a Magneton on the team. And yeah, that means your team will have flaws because it has only 5 Pokemon defensively. But it's just too important to like have it much lower than this. It's such a big deal. Like think about what Magneton would be if it didn't have this ability. Even if it had a great ability, like what if it had Arena Trap? Probably much worse.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that is interesting to think about because Arena Trap is less limited, but it doesn't stop the core Pokemon that Magneton is intended to stop, which is Skarmory. Um, I'm just thinking about like I know were saying not entertaining hypotheticals, like if this ability was on a different Pokemon, but like imagine if Magnezone existed in ADV, who is a much, I would argue, more competent Pokemon, especially defensively.
I definitely agree with that.
Uh, like that would be monstrous. You would probably get even more use out of Magnet Pull. Some of the other use cases for Magnet Pull would be to trap a Metagross, especially a Choice Banded Metagross, locked into Meteor Mash. Since Magneton times 4 resists Steel, which is a very uncommon trait,
Oh yeah, super rare.
manages to make some good use out of that to eliminate CB Metagross. It's also decent at nailing down things like Registeel and Jirachi and putting a Thunder Wave on them. You're a little bit
Yeah.
iffy on if you can do that to Jirachi. If it has Substitute, then it would love nothing more than for you to click Thunder Wave as it goes for Substitute. But the
Mm.
defensive Jirachis are very limited once you get a Thunder Wave on them.
Yeah, and the defensive Jirachi is like particularly the one that's the if it is a defensive Jirachi that somehow isn't Fire Punch, you're absolutely golden against this because you can oftentimes get behind a sub if you're Magneton, and then while yes, in theory you don't 2-hit KO Jirachi, that yellow magic paralysis turns anything into a 2-hit KO with enough chances. Uh, so Magneton, yeah, it's mostly here because of its Skarmory matchup, but like it does also just give you such a boost against opposing Metagross, against opposing Jirachi, against opposing Registeel. If your team is somehow a Magneton team that's weak to Magneton, hey, you can run Magneton and trap opposing Magnetons. That's like not a thing. That's a thing that we've built before, Tetra and me.
Yeah, we've been in DMs build a Skarm Mag team where the idea is that you bait the opposing Magneton out with your Skarmory, call it out with a switch to your Magneton, and the Magneton is built in such a way that it will outspeed most Magneton and always survives a HP fire from them. So, I mean, being your own worst enemy. It's something that I think some of us have some experience in, and Magneton, no different from the rest of us.
So a couple of flowers for the like real one-trick pony of abilities here, but it's quite a trick.
Mm-hmm.
It's an okay pony though.
I think it's got some, maybe a little bit more utility than you'd like to admit, but
Yeah,
no,
I'm a known Magneton hater. I do not like this Pokemon very much.
Number 6, I'm giving to Pressure, which, to maybe tell you a little bit about the kind of player that I am, it might actually be my favorite ability in this generation.
Maybe also who you are as a person.
Well, okay, we don't have to say all that. Um, Pressure will cost a Pokemon that uses a move that targets a Pokemon with Pressure an additional PP for using that move. Pop quiz. Does Rain Dance get affected by Pressure?
Ooh, I would have assumed no, but the fact that you're asking me this question makes me think it's yes in Gen 3. Is it yes?
Yes, in Gen 3 it does. Any moves that affect the field are considered targeting the opponent.
And just a real quick thing about why targeting is important. You can't like PP stall them out of rest. You can't pressure stall them out of soft boiled,
Right.
which is a big deal and would be really nice.
If it worked on soft boiled and recover, then I think genuinely I might say Pressure is like the 4th best ability. Maybe
Yeah,
3rd.
it'd fly up. It'd be really scary.
So unlike the previous slides, which I kind of just put everything in alphabetical order, I've kind of tiered off all of the Pokemon that get Pressure. This is one of the best represented abilities in ADV. Because they were very lazy with the legendary Pokemon and just gave everything
Yeah.
Pressure.
Look at Dusclops. What a legend.
Well, um, some notable exceptions in Dusclops and Aerodactyl, but Suicune, of course, if you've ever played a game of ADV, you've made it out of the 1100 Hellscape. Probably the first roadblock you ran into was a Suicune as the last Pokemon that they have, PP stalling all of your walls and then calm minding up to 10 million and killing you with Surf. And even at high levels of gameplay, Suicune is very dangerous for its ability to do this, and fits very well on balance and stall structures that are aiming in part to do the PP stalling. But it's also quite good at switching into things like Fire Blast, which it takes very well, and putting a lot of pressure on, no pun intended, the fire type Pokemon clicking that, or the mixed attacker clicking that, because now an 8 PP move is effectively a 4 PP move against Suicune.
Yeah.
Would you like to describe why it's so good on Zapdos?
So Zapdos, first of all, it's more of a big deal on special defensive Zapdos. This is another one of those like, unlike Suicune, who kind of just appreciates pressure on all of its sets, like even its offensive substitute ones, because if you substitute and you take a hit, it still takes the 2 PP. Zapdos really mostly appreciates this on its more defensive sets, but it really, really appreciates it on its defensive sets. One of the big things is that Zapdos loses a lot of matchups. Well, no, sorry. It doesn't lose a lot of matchups, but it loses some matchups quite badly. It loses to, like, Blissey. It loses to Celebi. And it loses because of just the long game, getting sort of grinded out. Except for the fact that it has pressure, and so Celebi, who normally wins by clicking Leech Seed 16 times, is suddenly only clicking it 8. And you're suddenly switching your Zapdos into Leech Seeds to, like, make even more progress against, one of the best moves in the game. Blissey, Modest Blissey does more with Ice Beam, but, like, I think there are some Zapdos sets, particularly if Sand isn't up, that can dodge the 3-hit KO from Ice Beam from Blissey. And if it does that, oh man, you only have 8 Ice Beams looking for like a crit to get a 3-hit KO. And you need the right crit too, because if it's too early, they can just leave. And so your Zapdos on these specially defensive sets that's running Rest, so it can take all these hits. It's really flipping the script on these counters, because it's in the end game. You know, you have to actually get this kill. You can't just keep, oh, I prevent your progress. If you don't have a way to kill it, and sneak peek, you don't, unless you save that last leech seed and then hit it 85% of the time. Zapdos, especially Spadef Zap, gets a lot of mileage out of just passively making progress against the opponent by pressure stalling their 16 PP moves specifically.
It must be 85% when you use it, because I think it's 90% for the rest of us.
Look, man, I have shared more than enough replays with you for you to see what has gone on whenever I play Gen 3. Gen 2, I'm pretty lucky. Gen 1, I'm very lucky. Gen 3, not happen.
Well, I'll reserve any comments about old gens that I have no experience in. Articuno is much the same way as Zapdos. It's more kind of pigeonholed into the special defense bird role because of its stat spread. It's very unfortunate that they didn't let us have 125 base power ice beams to fire off, but
give it Calm Mind and Thunderbolt too.
Oh geez. Well, now you just want Flying Suicune, don't you?
I do. Give me Super Coon.
It'd actually be more like a Flying Raikou if with that coverage.
Honestly, yeah. That's a good untrappable. Ooh.
Oh man. We can only imagine what could have been, but Articuno, I think, is in a similar state to Zapdos. In fact, it might even be better at doing the pressure stalling because of its increased bulk. Although, I mean, if you're familiar with the tier, you probably know that Articuno is a very niche Pokemon in and of itself.
Yeah. Really only one strategy uses it.
Yeah, you have a lot of weaknesses that are very glaring, but it can work, and if you want to know how to make it work, you should watch my Articuno video. Or if you actually really want to know how to make it work, you should watch McMegan replays.
Oh yeah, he loves that bird. I mean, it's great to be able to switch it in and take 2 PP off of Rock Slide.
Well,
that's
pair it with Intimidate, you might be able to take 4. Maybe. Dusclops is a very bulky ghost type and fits as the spin blocker on particularly stally teams. I do think that Mischievous has maybe a little bit more pull on those really stally spin blocky teams, but there are some variants that would prefer Dusclops because of its massive defense and not HP. It does not have a massive HP stat. It does have a massive SPDEF stat though, and
defense stat.
Yeah, it's actually quite good at doing the PP stalling. A set that I have run before, which is pure evil, is Mean Look with Rest, and then you allow something like a Blissey to just run completely out of moves while you're sitting there and doing absolutely nothing. And yeah, it's a great time for me.
Yeah, Blissey can't even get through you because like your last couple of moves can be, I mean, ghost types have some pretty good like just utility moves between Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split.
Right.
Got some stuff.
That set doesn't always beat Calm Mind Blissey, but if you're a real sicko, you could run Calm Mind on your Dusclops and just be a real bastard to whoever on ladder that is unfortunate enough to run into you. But not to say that that is the best thing that Dusclops can do. There are certainly some other things that it can do, and Pressure is really good at bolstering that sort of kit.
Yeah, a little quick mention on Dustclops that I want to add is that like it has a really nice combination of low health with pressure because one of the things that stall teams really don't like dealing with is Leech Seed Celebi. And the thing about Dustclops is that Leech Seed gives it just no health whatsoever because of how low Dustclops' HP is, and also steals the 2 PP. So, like,
Hmm.
it's not getting back any of the spikes damage that it's taking. And so, in the long run, it ends up like you really limit Celebi's ability to like pressure your, once again pun, pressure your stall team because of how you're limiting both its leech seeds in terms of like their progress, but also how much health they're getting back.
Hmm. You know what? Actually, now that we're thinking about this, pressure's got to be like one of the worst named abilities because it does literally the opposite, right? Like it stops your opponent from being able to pressure rather than putting pressure on them.
Yeah, well, feel the pressure when you only have 4 shots at Fire Blast, and one of them's gonna miss,
Yeah, I guess that's true. Next, I have Raiko as situational.
which is fair.
I think that it's really good, particularly in the Celebi and Blissey matchups, to be able to calm mind and get up a substitute, and potentially Blissey might not be able to break your substitute if it's running, say, Ice Beam Thunderbolt coverage. Then it's might not even be able to break you at all because it's only getting 8 shots to attack you with Ice Beam, and Thunderbolt, I mean, might as well just be clicking soft boiled at that point.
Yeah.
As Raiko is boosting up to 10 million, then Celebi, especially if it's the admittedly kind of rare Leech Seed plus Giga Drain variant.
Yeah, Leech Gigafire is so bad into Raiko's pressure.
Yeah, that is just that's hell to play in that matchup. There are also some ABR builds that will run a uncharacteristically bulky Raiko, which is like it's kind of like a budget Suicune where it rests and can loop and get some pressure stalling going on. I don't know if I would say that that's a super duper relevant part of Raiko's kit, but
Not currently, but ABR is a pioneer.
I mean, can you really question ABR? I mean, Mielke
I think you
would, but
can, but he's just so much better than you that he might convince other people that he's right, even when he's saying some crazy stuff.
yeah, I mean, hell, half of Jim's subscriber base thinks that Salamence doesn't deserve to be OU because of ABR. So
For real, none of them would ever think that if not for specifically where he put it on the tier list.
yeah. For niche, I've got Aerodactyl and Moltres. Pressure doesn't exactly fit their kits quite that well. Both of these Pokemon tend to want to be more offensively inclined, meaning that they're not going to have the longevity to get a lot of value out of pressure. But there are some sets that make some use out of these. I think probably the more interesting one is Aerodactyl because so commonly it chooses to run Rockhead so that it has that stab double edge that we were talking about earlier. But there are some sets that would run moves such as Substitute and Protect to get a pressure stall going with Aerodactyl. The fact that it is immune to Earthquake and has really high speed means that it can find some entry points to facilitate that stall. In particular, I think it's kind of dangerous against opposing like rock ground Pokemon that are relying on Rock Slide to hit the Aerodactyl, because with pressure and Substitute and Protect, you actually can stall that Pokemon out of Rock Slides completely, and then they're not able to hit your Aerodactyl at all. Well, maybe if they have like coverage hidden power, they might be able to, but
Yeah, but even then, like a hidden power bug isn't gonna threaten Arrow very much. It might not even break, or it won't break Sub.
mhm.
And then Moltres mostly uses pressure on like its morning sunsets with weather clear.
Right.
That's the one where it kind of matters.
I have seen rest Moltres on some Superman teams where I imagine that pressure is a little bit
On
nicer.
occasion. Yeah.
Um, but I mean, Moltres can still do some of the same things that Suicune does to Fire Blasts. Switch into a Fire Blast,
That's true.
use up all that PP, and then finally there's Entei, who I guess can also do that. But I mean,
But is Spike Sweep trappable by Dugtrio and
yeah,
is Entei, unfortunately.
as good a type as Fire is offensively, it does have some glaring weaknesses defensively, and Entei is just not fantastic at making use of pressure because of that. Moltres is a lot nicer because of the ground immunity afforded to it by flying, giving it more entry points, making it not trappable by Dugtrio. But, of course, Entei does not have those same luxuries. All right, moving on. The next ability is Intimidate. I mean, this is classic. Even VGC players know what this ability does.
Intimidate's so good.
You'll get a -1 attack on your opponent for switching in. The Pokemon that run this are most commonly Salamence and Gyarados, but on occasion you might see Tauros, who gets a little bit
mentioned.
of utility out of it. Shoutouts to Smoking Rocks, who is, in my mind, the ADV Tauros player. Not that anybody outside of Zetscored would know who that is, but anyway, that's
It's still a badge of honor.
of course. That's like how you're the ADV Electrode player.
I'll take it.
Well, I mean, Intimidate, especially on the flying type Pokemon here, having those entry points into something like, say, a DD Tyranitar going for Earthquake into your Steel type, and then negating some of that progress is really nice. And then in the case of Salamence in particular, who's running a very strong Earthquake and potentially also a strong Brick Break, kind of pressures Tyranitar to go for an attacking move rather than going for Dragon Dance again, which means that you could do the loop again and end up in a situation where a DD Tyranitar actually has minus attack, and then might get reverse swept by Dragon Dance. Though, again, you have to make some plays, and there is a little bit of, depending on the game state, going on there.
Yeah, and in particular with Gyarados and Salamence, because I mean they're similar. If you just look at them, they're blue dragon-looking dudes with their mouths open. They play a similar role, and what you will find is that sometimes they're even included on the same team. And they're included on the same team that is extremely weak to DD Tyranitar. And you're like, well, how are you going to deal with that? Like, doesn't Gyarados just die? Doesn't Salamence just die? And the answer is yes, but it only one of them dies. And if you just switch between Gyarados and Salamence over and over and over again, yeah, one of them will get hit eventually, but it'll only get hit at -1. And you can just guarantee that they're not going to get that attack boost required to break through the rest of your team. So, like, they in particular can kind of squeeze out a little bit of added value from Intimidate as like additive when you have more than one. Because yeah, Intimidate alone gives you a cool out of like, oh, I'm gonna reduce your attack, switch to something, reduce your attack, switch to something. But having two can just brute force, like, I don't need a rock resist. I don't need something, because I can guarantee that I'm just gonna run through this DD Tyranitar and it's never gonna be able to sweep me.
I mean, this is a great point. Gyarados is not a Pokemon that I play with all that commonly, and I do think...
You don't like Gyarados.
I think that in many cases it is inferior to Salamence, but it does have some interesting qualities, particularly being a water type, which I do think is a situationally better defensive type than Dragon.
I mean, yeah, it beats Swampert, which is something that, of course, Salamence famously cannot say.
Yeah. Uh, the one like unfortunate thing that I think would make Gyarados really, really good is that a Pokemon we talked about earlier and its ability, Metagross, does not get afflicted by the Intimidate. If it did, could you imagine a water type that is immune to Earthquake, lowering Metagross's attack stat, and then threatening to
On
DD in
switching,
front of
yeah.
it? Um,
That'd be pretty nice.
but we don't live in Disneyland, unfortunately, where Gyarados is a real Pokemon. If you want to go to Disneyland, go play Generation 4.
Yeah, unfortunate doesn't begin.
Can we get through one competitive Pokemon video with with Gyarados mentioned without mentioning Lavos?
Hey, look, I held my tongue during the Jirachi part, so like, I think I've done my job.
All right. Shout outs to Lavos, who I hear is not a fantastic person, but was a fantastic gamer, except for that one
Yeah,
set against McMegan. But
where clearly wasn't a good gamer. Obviously, very definitely wasn't a good gamer.
so I mean, I would have won that from his position. I would not have.
Easy.
I wouldn't have won that without the hacks. But I digress.
I would have lost it from McMegan's position. I would have found a way.
Sometimes you just get better gamered. Tauros, we just mentioned him briefly at the beginning. I don't know if there's like a I don't know what it gets out of Intimidate, really. I guess maybe it's like a token Snorlax check, maybe.
Yeah, it's mostly here because of the incredible speed stat that it has that like really justifies using it and being able to outpace all of the base 100s. But like, it's nice to have your fast revenge killer also sometimes have a little bit of like, when your fast revenge killer is too weak or just doesn't have any good targets left to really take advantage of. It's nice that Tauros is not the worst. It's not just a sack. It's a sack that also can kind of get you out of a little bit of a pinch because it can drop the attack by 1. So it does appreciate its ability. It just appreciates sheer force more in later generations.
Right. Well, I mean, fast, intimidate, sacking it inexplicably. I mean, it just sounds like you're saying that this is the Generation 3 version of Landorus Therian. So without explaining that any further, we'll go on to the next ability, which possibly controversial. I think many people would put this as number 3. In fact, I was maybe going to put it as number 3 until the GOAT, Benji, told me, in fact, there's a better ability. But without further ado, this is Levitate. Simply put, this makes a Pokemon immune to ground, but less simply put, it also makes it immune to spikes, and it means that it can't be trapped by Dugtrio's Arena Trap.
Just all such important things.
Yes. All of these Pokemon love the ground immunity. I think there are 2 traits that pair with Levitate that make it a really busted ability. The first one is being a rock resist, which you'll see 3 of these Pokemon are. As famously, I will say that Weezing is a rock resist. But
That's steel poison typing.
more traditionally, Claydol and Flygon. The reason being, of course, is that most Pokemon who are running ground coverage, i.e. Earthquake, are also going to be running Rock Slide as their other form of attacking. Examples of which being like Tyranitar, Salamence, very commonly does this. Arrow, of course. Even Metagross, in some cases.
Yeah.
If you want to know more about that, you should watch my rock resistant ADV video. But I'm assuming that if you made it this far, you probably already have.
I should have convinced you to put Electrode as a rock resist in that video.
Why? Because it booms before the rock type gets to attack it?
No, because it rain dances before the rock type gets to attack it.
Whoa, okay, and then it sets up for Kingdra.
Swift swimmers, and it also checks arrow in a similar way to like other rock resists.
You know, I could be convinced that maybe it's a better rock resist than Magneton, who I did mention in that video. I did put it in the tier of rock resist by technicality, but
By technicality. Fair enough.
um, now that we've been so thoroughly sidetracked, the other trait that I think pairs really well with Levitate is being a spin blocker, which Gengar is like the quintessential spin blocker of ADV. The reason why that matters so much is that spin blocking is really important for maintaining the spike's advantage, not just keeping spikes from being spun away, but a lot of times spikes teams are trading spikes, right? Superman is a very good example of this, that you're usually allowing your opponent to get spikes up for your ability to get spikes up, and then you're going to use the spin blocker, i.e., Gengar, sometimes Misdreavus, to stop your opponent from being able to remove those spikes so that you keep your spikes advantage. Do you have anything to add about that?
I just wanted to add that like what we're noting is that all of these Pokemon uh, love that they have Levitate. Levitate is a really, really nice like bonus. It's a really, really nice way of accentuating what they're good at. It turns Playdol from a spinner into a spinner that is immune to spikes. Flygon is a rock resist. That's its main job, but now it's a rock resist that doesn't take Earthquake, because Earthquake is just such a good move. A 100 base power move that doesn't miss is crazy by power levels of Gen 3 standards. It's really nice to be able to block spin, but it's way better to be able to block spin when you don't have to take spikes damage switching in. These Pokemon are mostly still doing the jobs they would be trying to do without Levitate, but the fact that they have Levitate makes them like so much better at it. But it is not, as we'll see in like the top two Pokemon, it is not like what defines these Pokemon's viability. It's just like a really big part of it. And then there's also the question of like, if the best Pokemon for our support of, or if your best argument for Levitate includes a picture of Weezing and Flygon, you might be running into a little bit of trouble in terms of viability. And because we're in the top four, we're going to have to start saying a couple of bad things about abilities to differentiate from the absolute monsters that remain.
I don't know. I think you're sleeping on Weezing a little bit here. Poison.
I am definitely sleeping on Weezing a lot. I don't think Weezing is good.
Poison is a pretty good defensive type, particularly at walling physical attackers. You're resistant to bug fighting and neutral on rock and steel. Then
Ground immune for Weezing. That's nice.
Right. The main caveat, right, is that Poison weak to ground, but Weezing is not weak to ground because of Levitate. Also, a big reason why Gengar is so good as well.
Yeah.
And then with the ability to switch into or find entry points on things like a bug type move or a brick break / focus punch or an earthquake, and then threaten to burn the opponent. I mean, that's quite good, I think, for Weezing.
Yeah, the fact that Will-O-Wisp is a move and a half, I'll tell you.
Now,
I know you also have to look at
anything about its special defense, where it's very lacking, but being able to threaten out all of these physical attackers that are so scary in this generation, I do think that Weezing deserves some amount of flowers now. I mean, it's not OU ranked for a good reason, but
yeah, but it's got a place. You can pair it with Umbreon and then just wall everything ever.
exactly.
Uh, but the big thing with Weezing and Gengar in particular is like, okay, well, what if they didn't have Levitate? Well, boy, howdy, they become Dugtrio food in a millisecond. I bet Dugtrio could trap Gengar switching into a Will-O-Wisp.
I mean, Gengar is pretty frail. I wouldn't put it past. Um, I guess that leads to kind of an interesting question. Do you think that Gengar would still be OU if it didn't have Levitate?
I feel like wouldn't it just get replaced by Mischievous?
You think that Mischievous would just be the new Gengar?
I feel like Mischievous would be the big five ghost immune thing in a lot of situations. I mean, Gengar would still have so much more offensive juice, but like a real big part of Big Five, especially back when it was at its heyday, was the fact that it was just like, oh no, I'll just let you get up spikes. I'm not gonna have like Big Five Starmie. I'm gonna have like Big Five Zapdos or something, and I'm just gonna let you get spikes because I'm gonna keep spikes as well, and I just have better Pokemon than you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that makes sense. Honestly, I wonder if there would be an argument, like let's say if it was like Modern Gen where Gengar had Cursed Body, but Haunter still kept Levitate. I wonder if we would see a situation where Haunter would get used over Gengar.
I mean, dude, for real though, if the reason why I hate that Gengar has Levitate in these old gens is because man, Snorlax would be eating with just normal ground coverage.
Yeah, I mean, every generation gets so much worse for Snorlax in the Gengar matchup. Because, like, in Gen 2, Gengar actually gets some decent moves. And then Gen 3, it gets Levitate to dodge the Earthquake. And then Gen 4, Shadow Ball becomes a special move, so you can't even hit it with that. Like,
yeah, and also Gengar gets freaking Focus Blast.
I mean, gosh. That's one of the things that I actually kind of hate about the design philosophy going into later generations. I kind of like that. I love how Pursuit interacts with Gengar in this generation, and then they immediately ruin it in Generation 4 by making Pursuit a lot stronger by making it a physical move, and then giving Gengar the option that it needs to get out of the Pursuit trap with Focus Blast. And then giving Tyranitar's Choice Scarf to say, actually, I'm bypassing your bypass.
By crunching, but I'm going to risk the crunch. And it's like, oh, they switched. It becomes much more, or I guess it is coin flippy anyway, but it's a lot more to consider for sure.
But enough of me hating on generations I don't even play. So we'll move on, but Levitate, of course, I mean, I don't think most of you are surprised that it was in the top 5. Maybe a little surprised it wasn't in the top 3, but...
Yeah, I think the top 4 are really, really quite settled.
Right. Is Natural Cure. So, do you want to explain why you convinced me that Natural Cure is actually better than Levitate?
So the reason why I tried to make this argument and the reason why I tried to convince is primarily because if you remember the 4 Pokemon from the previous slide, it included a Flygon and a Weezing. And there is nobody on this page that is remotely that bad as those two. Like the quality of Pokemon that Natural Cure is attached to is just so high. Whereas you will go games where you're just like, oh, Levitate simply doesn't matter in this game because there's no Levitate Pokemon. You're much harder pressed to see a game without a Natural Cure Pokemon. And yeah, you might argue, well, okay, does Natural Cure matter in every single one of those games? It's like, maybe it doesn't in the game, but doesn't it matter a lot in the builder? Doesn't it matter a lot in the way the metagame was shaped? Mm-hmm. How much more popular would Toxic be if it was a reliable way to beat Blissey and Celebi and Starmie? These, defensive titans that are spamming 50% recovery moves just all day and night. Mm-hmm. Because they don't have to worry about getting slowly chipped over time by status. They're just going to leave and it's going to be gone. It's a mixture of the fact that these Pokemon all really appreciate Natural Cure in the same way that all the previous Pokemon really appreciated Levitate. Maybe Levitate increases their viability more, but the end result is still a lower overall viability than we're seeing here with Blissey, Celebi, and Starmie. And then even beyond that, you have to think about, okay, what kind of a metagame impact does Levitate really have? It means that Pursuit has to be more common because of Gengar, and it means that like HP Bug is more common because you have to hit Claydol. Well, HP Bug is also for Celebi, so there's that. And in addition, the fact that there is so much Natural Cure just means that, okay, my answer to so many things can't just be status. In so many situations, you would love it if you could just be like, oh no, I'll just burn it. And once I burn it, I'll get through it eventually, because it's losing 18% of its health every turn from burn and sand. Because look at these, none of these are sand immunes. But they're not worried about that status. They're not worried about para in the long term or toxic in the long term. Sleep, you actually sometimes kind of would prefer if you could sleep sack them, but
yeah, that's
all right,
the only
that's
knock
one
on
issue.
Natural Cure, in my opinion.
Yeah, but like, hey man, if you had to pick something to get frozen, I'm not going to say Blissey because of how your last tournament set went, but normally you're okay with it being Celebi and Starmie because it's not going to stick. You don't got to worry about it.
You got me with that one. I was not expecting that. I was less convinced by your argument that these Pokemon are good, because I mean, I clearly could have put Altaria and Roselia on the screen as counterexamples. But I do like this point about how much status is kind of stifled by the existence of these Pokemon. If we lived in a metagame where Natural Cure didn't exist and Rest plus Sleep Talk wasn't as broken as it was in Gen 2, imagine the nightmare scape of every Pokemon having Toxic, and the only way to deal with it is to switch to a Steel type, or I guess a Poison
or
type.
Weezing.
Yeah, true. Well, Weezing's viability would go up a lot, I think.
I think an even stronger thing to think about is like, okay, yeah, what if it was gone? What if you just took it off of Celebi and Starmie? What if every time you Toxic to Blissey, you could guarantee a Toxic into something else? Because it's gonna have to leave eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the double Natural Cure is a big pressure thing too.
Yeah. I know that you don't play the tier so much anymore, but are you familiar with a team that's been dubbed Unemployed 6?
Man, I really appreciate how just like aggressively insulting names of teams are these days. Virgin 5.
True. We're like the Smash Bros community, but because there's no money in it, we're a little less serious. Not to say that there's a lot of money in Smash Bros, but
hey, there's a lot more.
There is a lot more.
Considering how big Pokemon is, there's a lot more in retro Smash than retro Pokemon.
It's because we decided to play the unofficial format. If we were playing VGC, maybe we could make some money.
Yeah, but I also specified retro.
True.
Retro Pokemon versus retro Smash.
Yeah, that's very fair. Well, Unemployed 6 is these three Pokemon on the screen right now, plus Skarmory, Defensive Metagross, and Salamence.
That's a lot of synergy. That's like a ton of synergistic Pokemon.
Right, and think about
but no water type.
Think about how terrible teams who are relying on status are into that 6.
Toxic literally doesn't really hit 5 of them.
Right, exactly. And then Paraspam is not working.
I think there should be a rule. I think we should add a rule. Anybody who plays that team and gets their Salamence Toxic should have to forfeit. You should lose immediately.
Well, what if you're using Refresh Salamence?
Okay, that's fine.
So, yeah, I mean, similarly to Levitate, stacking multiple Pokemon with Natural Cure on the same team just makes it even more valuable. Like, I don't see like Celebi plus Blissey quite as often as honestly we ought to see that.
I used to see that a lot back in like the early 2020s.
Wow, a an ADV boomer of sorts.
Get the fuck out of here.
But
I know this is your video, but get out.
Starmie plus either of these two Pokemon, I think, is quite common,
Mhm.
and for a lot of good reason. And then you don't even have to run defensive variants of these Pokemon. Although, I mean, Blissey is a little bit pigeonholed into running a lot of defense investment because it's just so good when it has it. But
Yeah, but also it's guaranteed that it runs 252 special attack modest. So like even its defensive variant is still all out offense.
right, well, unless you're running Mono Bliss, but that's a little bit of a different discussion. But yeah, uh, offensive Celebi plus offensive Starmie on a team, uh, you can sometimes weather the storm against teams that are using Thunderwave as their main form of speed control, uh, despite the fact that you don't have a lot of speed investment. And then what Unemployed 6 does, which is really, really nasty, is in fact, it's a Paraspam's team itself. So
Oh, gross.
it's a Paraspam team that doesn't lose to other Paraspam. So
You know what's another thing that I actually think is worth mentioning with the double natural cure, I mean unemployed 6, but in general just double natural cure is I think that like one of the more underexplored just overarching strats in Gen 3 and one of the strongest particularly within that group is sleep. And like, man, what happens to Breloom if you run into Starmie Celebi? It's like, Spore. Now I get to, oh, wait a second. I didn't actually Spore anything because it just woke up and you switch to something that I can't Spore. Because like the idea behind it usually is like, Breloom will Spore the switch in, and if it's Celebi or something, that it'll Spore again because that Celebi's going to have to switch out. What if the switch in is a Starmie? You're just like, oh, your Breloom has gone from guaranteed like 0.5 KOs off of sleep, plus, you know, whatever it'll get from maybe Stun Spore or Focus Punch, to like straight up just useless. Because now all its fighting moves are resisted, and it dies if it stays in against any of these psychic types, and it can't put anything to sleep. And like, oh man, I've run Hypno Milo, and when you see like, oh, wait a second, Celebi Blissey, or Blissey Starmie, it's like, wait a second, Hypno is just useless here. Like it is a waste of a move slot in a way that like, oh, actually sleep is kind of good against natural cure because you still get to launch it. Against 2, very different story.
right. And then yeah, I mean, even if you go for a focus punch anticipating a switch, and that switch
Oh
happens to
no,
be
Starmie.
yeah, a Starmie, then it's not fantastic for you. And then like the really nasty thing is you also have the Salamence. So if they predict you to go for Focus Punch and they switch to Salamence, then it's just like really dire for Breloom.
Yeah, but if you get your Salamence put to sleep on this team, you do deserve to have to forfeit.
I guess
think
that's
that
true.
should be a rule.
Yes, okay. So if you're running Unemployed 6 and Breloom manages to put your Salamence to sleep, then you have to quit the game. But I mean, you won't hear protests from me. I think that these three Pokemon on screen are just fantastic Pokemon. I think we kind of
They're so
glossed
good.
over how good Natural Cure is in combination with immediate recovery.
Yeah, that 50% recovery, especially if you have 32 of them.
Yeah, this is why Pokemon like Altaria, well, among other reasons, are not really that good in the format because they're with no immediate recovery. Like status is still making a little bit of progress into Altaria. I guess you could run rest, but then you're forfeiting a
Or switch out.
yeah, you're forfeiting a move slot to force yourself to switch out, which is
Yeah.
not fantastic. But the fact that all of these Pokemon have recover, I mean, Blissey has soft boiled, but essentially,
God, but if it had 32,
if
I don't want to live in that world.
we don't want to live in the world where we don't have natural cure, and we don't want to live in the world where Blissey has 32 PP on soft boiled, which goes to show that ADV was the perfect metagame. But
All right. Let's settle down. The next Pokemon might have something to say about that.
okay, so the one blemish on ADV is Arena Trap, which prevents the opposing Pokemon from choosing to switch out unless they are airborne, which is a very funny way to say unless they're flying type or have levitate, but I guess it gets the point across. Doug Trio. I mean, you see all these Pokemon on screen that are.
That's a lot of good Pokemon.
Yeah.
That let's look at that and take a second and be like, oh, wait a second, that's a lot of good Pokemon. Metagross isn't even on here.
Right, that's not including Metagross, that's not including any Pokemon that falls below 50% HP and doesn't have a resistance to Earthquake.
Yeah, Starmie gets trapped.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Oh man, I can't tell you how many times on a defensive team where my way to win the game is to keep spikes on the field. I double into Doug Trio, catching their Starmie switching in, and that's how I win.
And it has taken just too much spike stat, just a hair too much spike damage.
Yeah. Doug Trio is probably the Pokemon that is like perfectly designed for Arena Trap to be such a bastard ability. They gave it to the Pokemon that outspeeds almost everything in the tier. Now, it's a little bit balanced by the fact that Doug Trio has a pretty mediocre attack stat, but...
And bulk.
And bulk, of course. But, I mean, with a choice band, it's not really that bad, and...
Yeah, it's clicking the best stab move in the game.
Exactly.
I mean, okay, maybe not. Return is really good.
Yeah, but Return is so easily resisted, though.
That is true.
And Earthquake, not so much. The only Pokemon that resist it are Pokemon that can switch out against Doug Trio anyway. So Pokemon that you don't want to use Doug Trio on.
Yeah, it would be a real shame if grass types could be OHKO'd by a different move by this Doug Trio, or bug types also. Would be a real crying shame.
Yeah, so then they decided to make the hidden power mechanics the way that they are in ADV, which I think is, for the most part, a really good thing. But the unfortunate side effect is that Celebi is completely owned by Doug Trio. Well, I guess not necessarily, because Celebi does have enough bulk to survive in many cases, but a little bit of chip on that Celebi, and now Doug Trio is feasting on some onion.
Or a little bit of bulk on that Doug Trio, and suddenly those Giga Drains aren't getting there. Suddenly those hidden power grasses aren't getting there.
That's actually true as well.
And then they gave it Aerial Ace for all reason.
Yeah, which doesn't make any sense for Doug Trio. It's probably the most confusing Pokemon that can use Aerial Ace, but the side effect of that is that it stops Heracross from winning the game against a lot of stall teams, which is fantastic, because otherwise Heracross is a real nightmare for stall teams. And then it also gives you the opportunity to proc Effect Spore, which is a ability in this generation. But I think at the cost of losing your Breloom, we'll kind of
the entire Breloom.
Yeah.
I died for a 1 in 3 chance that maybe I poisoned this thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you put it to sleep, that could matter.
Yeah, the chance that it could put it to sleep or paralyze it. I'm getting poisoned if I'm proccing it at all.
No, you're getting paralyzed. You're not so
No.
I'm
if I'm running Breloom, then
yes, I see what you're saying. You're getting the poison if you proc it at all. But you don't even proc it at all. In fact,
I'm not procking
you're the type of gamer who is going to overheat into Breloom and then get put to sleep by Effect Spore. Because for some reason, overheat is a contact move.
I think I remember thinking that when I was a kid that overheat might be kind of a smashing thing. Like you overheat yourself and then crash into them or something. It just seemed cool. It was such a cool move growing up, just as a concept.
Oh, well, you know what? If you put it like that, you're making it sound like it's Flare Blitz which
Yeah.
would honestly have been really interesting if they transitioned it such that it was a 140 physical attack that lowered your attack 2 stages. But then we wouldn't get Flare Blitz, so I don't know.
But yeah, just to like harp on it, yes, Arena Trap is probably the best ability in ADV that is legal in isolation. If you're just looking at like the ability,
Mm.
like how many Pokemon would love to be able to be like, hey, you Pokemon that loses to me, you can't switch, and now I'm going to curse to +6 or DD to +6 or get 3 layers of spikes or heal myself and then pass a wish to something, right? All of this momentum from not being able to do the most basic thing in Pokemon, which is go to something that wins the matchup. But it is attached to Dugtrio, who is a good Pokemon and is interestingly well suited to be a arena trapper, but is balanced by having like just terrible base stats compared to other OU Pokemon.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is the other than like the truly like broken abilities like huge power and speed boost and Wonder Guard.
Mhm.
This is like the what if X Pokemon had Y ability. Like
Yeah.
if could you imagine if a Calm Mind Pokemon had Arena Trap?
Yeah.
Like
It's over. It's over.
that would be insane. And I mean like uh in Generation 7, I think, when Dugtrio was like partially legal, there was a strategy where you would bring Durant with Truant and Entrainment. You would
Oh yeah.
Entrainment the Truant onto the opposing Pokemon. If you don't know what it does, it makes the opponent have the same ability that you have, and then sack your Durant. And then you would come in with Dugtrio, who does get a boosting move in that generation, which is Hone Claws, and then you get to see what Dugtrio would look like if it had real stats, and it's fucking terrifying.
It's terrifying because it does still have 120 base speed.
Yeah, and in Generation 7, 100 base attack, which fortunately we're
Yeah,
spared
at
from.
+6, not a big deal, 100 versus 80, but yes.
So, yeah, needless to say that Gen 7 ruined the fun for many a generation of Dugtrio, but not
ABR
ADV.
ruined it. ABR made stall teams with Arena Trap that were so good that it got Arena Trap banned in every previous generation except for 3.
Yeah. All right, I have a confession.
All right, hit me with it.
Generation 7, my day 1 team, Mega Sableye, Tectonic Rage, Dugtrio, and you can fill in the other 4 from there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like the fact that that was your day 1 team does say a lot about the kind of Pokemon player you have been since you were in like middle school.
God bless. Well, it's Smogon's fault for taking Aegislash away from me. My weakness policy / life orb Aegislash.
Oh yeah, and just a little thing, if anybody is coming here from like super new gens, Arena Trap does trap ghost types in this gen, so like Dusclops can't switch away.
Yeah, which I mean, not ultra relevant because most ghost types
Really not much at all.
Yeah,
But
most ghost types are
A
either
thing to mention.
Gengar or have some trick to beat. Well, other than
I mean,
Banette,
it's
who's
Mischievous
terrible.
Gengar, and so they just are levitators.
Yeah, I mean, Dusclops could Will-O-Wisp, Sableye could
Yeah.
knock off, which
Oh, Sableye, right.
things are kind of good into Dugtrio, but not very, very rare. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the Pokemon on the left here, Raikou. I don't, Benji, are you familiar with ADV Draft that much?
I do know that Raikou is simply broken in ADV Draft. Not as broken as like Jirachi and Suicune.
Well, who are
But
banned, but
it is well, yeah. But so like the thing is the old saying of every team loses to some Suicune set. You don't know what it is and you don't know what team they're going to bring, but every team loses to some Suicune set. Every team also loses to some Jirachi set, and most teams without Arena Trap will lose to some version of Raikou if it just knew exactly what to do against you.
Mhm.
And man, it is so scary in these limited formats.
Yeah, exactly. So Raikou
Not the homeboy.
is the top tier Pokemon in ADV draft because only one person gets to have Blissey and only one person gets to have Dugtrio. And every person who does not have Blissey or Dugtrio on their team does not have a very solid Raikou answer. So this is all the Raikou fans who really wanted to rise to OU put some pressure on the council to ban Dugtrio.
I think Raikou would be really good without Dugtrio.
Yeah,
Like,
I think it would probably be like maybe Salamence level, possibly better.
oh, well, which version of Salamence? The AVR version of Salamence, or
Not the ABR version of Salamence.
AVR might have Raikou above Salamence. I'll be real.
ABR has Raikou above Zapdos, so
Okay, that's crazy, but okay.
so enough trolling. Let's get into the best ability in ADV, which I feel like there's not very much debate on this. I think most of you would agree here that it is Trace. Because think about it. If
It can be anything.
Yeah, I mean, if your opponent has a great ability, then you get to steal that. And Porygon 2 and Gardevoir are such great Pokemon, and being able to steal such great abilities just completely boosts them in viability.
And remember, all of these abilities work when you switch into a Pokemon with Intimidate. You will intimidate them. That's not how it works in Gen 3. You don't drop their attack.
No.
You can switch into a Pokemon with Sandstream, and yes, you do still take sand damage because you're normal and psychic type.
Yes.
Oh no, these abilities even still don't really work properly.
Right. I mean, ironically, Trace is one of the best ways to punish Arena Trap. But I don't think that's enough to make it number one. It wasn't even enough really to get an honorable mention. Of course, the best ability.
It almost was.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely better than the average ability, I would say.
Yeah.
But the number one is Sandstream, of course. Sets permanent Sandstorm. If you don't know what Sandstorm does, then you have not played enough ADV.
Or Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, the modern gen player may not be as familiar. Though Tyranitar did recently get up to OU usage. I don't know if it's OU ranked right now, but
they still know what Sandstorm is. They just don't know that it used to last
forever.
A little bit longer.
I've got I mean, some would say that Tyranitar is the GOAT, which you might confuse you why I put him over Tim Duncan, who is a great player in his own right.
I love Tim Duncan.
A little bit of a crazy take to say he's the GOAT, but he is
a little bit of a crazy one, yeah.
The big fundamental, and Tyranitar's Sandstream is fundamental to ADV, so that's why we're putting him here. Also because I didn't want to piss off Zets, or I don't know, I think you're maybe similarly inclined that LeBron might be the GOAT, and I didn't want to put him over Jordan. So.
I do think it's close. I'm a pretty heavy basketball historian, so I do think that there's some real strong arguments in favor of MJ, in favor of LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not to get too political, but like, I don't think you're crazy for saying either is the GOAT. I think you'd be crazy to say anybody else.
I actually think that there should be. I think that 3. Well, we can talk basketball later, but long story short, I think 3 should not be as consensus Kareem. I think Bill Russell has a really good argument for 3.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I have a lot of respect for him.
No, I could see the argument there. But I mean, Sandstream shapes the tier like no other ability.
Like no other thing, no individual Pokemon, no individual move, no individual item. It is foundational.
Right. Like so we fortunately don't live in the nightmare scape where there's no natural cure and every Pokemon is running Toxic as a 4th move. We also thankfully don't live in the nightmare scape where Suicune is completely unchecked to go to +6 and live forever. And in part that is thanks to Sandstream. Not to say that there are no ways to counter Suicune if there's no sand, but
But it
like
helps.
it's huge for stopping Pokemon like Suicune, like Snorlax, like any of these sand weak Pokemon that otherwise could just boost forever.
And again, I don't mean to harp on it too much, but like, look at the Pokemon Sandstream is attached to.
Well,
Like, this guy is an animal. DD Tar, Pursuit Tar, BKC Tar, CB Tar, Bulky DD Tar, which is a fundamentally different set than normal DD Tar.
I mean, it really
Like,
is. It plays so differently. No, and it's
it's got
not even a meme. It is. Then there's like mixed
uh,
tar, like
Mixtar,
you
Boa,
Vil, uh, that ancient power Tyranitar that I brought.
Ancient Power.
um,
1 in 10 times the best Pokemon ever.
I mean, if you're gonna give an Omni boost to anything, like
It'd be a Tyranitar.
exactly. I mean, the hypotheticals are like if you took Stream away from Tyranitar, like where in the top 10 does it still maintain?
Yeah,
Right?
we're in the top 10.
And then
And we're also giving it like the best ability in the game. Probably not like literally, or not the best like in terms of enhancing, a specific mon. Because like we said, Arena Trap. If you give Arena Trap to any setup sweeper, it's like SpaghettiOs. But Sandstream. How many of your Pokemon have to run leftovers? Every non-sand immune, except maybe like CB Mens, or if you have Weather Clear, has to run leftovers, or it just gets wasted by Sandstorm. How many teams, in order to justify not running leftovers on every single non-sand immune, have to run a Trapper and Weather Clear just to be able to play with the Pokemon that they want, with the set that they want?
yeah, exactly.
How many teams are just 5 sand immunes? Because it's like I'm just gonna run good Pokemon that don't get worn down.
Mm.
Protect only exists on Swampert and Skarmory because Sandstorm does. It wouldn't be there if you were also giving your opponent leftovers recovery. The fact that only you are getting it in a lot of situations is like the reason it's good.
I mean, like, yeah, there's nothing you can really say to uh discredit Sandstorm in this. Um like similarly to if Tyranitar didn't have Sandstorm, it would still be a really good Pokemon. I would make the argument like you could put Sandstream on a really crap Pokemon, like say like Golem, and Golem would probably be like, if not OU ranked, definitely used in OU because of Sandstream.
Yeah, especially if you took it off of Tyranitar. Like if you took it off of Tyranitar so that you couldn't just choose Tyranitar instead of it, then like yeah, it would be. I had this thought experiment way back in the day where I was like, okay, do I actually think Ninjask would rather have Sandstream or Speed Boost if it was the only thing with access to Sandstream? And I was like, yeah, you just put it on board turn 1, and then you have Sandstream forever. And you also have like, a really, really fast like endgame sweeper or something. Like it could be an SD sweeper maybe. And it's just it is an ability that would fundamentally change the strength of so many Pokemon if it was taken off of Tyranitar and given to them.
Right, which is the big caveat, because otherwise, like there are very very few Pokemon that would compete with Tyranitar if both had Sandstream, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And maybe there's an argument for Arena Trap because of that reason, but we are also giving it some credit for how impactful it is in actuality. We're saying like, hey, not just the theory of how good Arena Trap is, but like how often does Arena Trap actually matter? How many games are you not going to see Arena Trap, or Arena Trap isn't going to be that useful? Because like, I don't know, maybe they just don't actually have a thing that you really, really need to trap. Rare, but maybe. Sandstream is gonna show up and it's gonna matter every single game Tyranitar is in. And you got 2 people who could be choosing Tyranitar with one of 6 spots. So that's gonna be a lot of games.
Right. So, yeah. I mean, it's fundamental to so many team compositions. Like TSS literally doesn't work if you don't have sand, and
It's just
TSS is
TS.
yeah, and um, as somebody who's run some T and some S and some other S, I'm gonna say that. I mean, it's really between spikes and sand, which is the most impactful. But sand is just like inevitable, literally.
Yeah,
So
right. It's Spikes is super good because it has little counterplay. Sand is really good because it forces your counterplay. If you choose to not counterplay sand, you just roll over and die. There are some teams that can be like, I'm just going to be all floating above. Or, my counterplay to spikes is I'm going to kill you first. Right? You can't just be like, oh, I'll kill you first on your sand team. Not going to work. Too
right.
much immediate pressure.
Yeah, and like the only way to play around sand is have 6 sand immunes, but like that's still a bit limiting because you're all rock, ground, or steel types, which can work depending on which Pokemon you choose, but
I mean, yeah, water types don't exist. We're good.
exactly.
We're Gucci.
I mean, I've been known to play some quite Swampert weak teams in my day, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, it feels bad, man.
Yeah. But that's basically going to conclude it. If you in the comments want to make an argument why Guts actually is one of the best, or Water Absorb or Volt Absorb, there are some other really good abilities that we didn't mention.
They're just probably attached to Pokemon that we don't think are that good.
Yeah. Sorry, Jolteon fans. Gosh.
Are you a Jolteon hater? I'm somewhat known to be a little bit of a Jolteon hater.
I mean, it was the lowest rated OU Pokemon on my viability rankings that was still above a UUBL.
Interesting. So it wasn't. So wait, who was the lowest? Was it Gyarados the lowest?
I think I put Breloom the lowest.
Oh, sure. Well, Breloom against Unemployed 6.
In fact, I put Breloom in the tier that was basically like all the Pokemon in this tier should be UUBL. So, sorry if you didn't watch that video and you are a Breloom fan and you are finding out about this now. But we had to rip that Band-Aid off eventually. But yeah, that'll be it. As for my next video, I don't know because this is being recorded well in advance because I wanted to have something over the Thanksgiving break, and not being at my computer recording, wanted to spend some time with family. I hope you understand.
Oh, gross! What a not unemployed gamer.
Jeez. And this has been my guest Benji, who has been instrumental in my growth as a player, especially during my revival run. Can't thank you.
Hey, don't put that on me. You can't blame me for that.
Whoa, okay. Well, all the losses were on me, except for that one time you told me to bring a Gyarados team. That's on you. And then
I did.
And,
I shouldn't have ever told you to bring a Gyarados team.
And the Kingdra team. I'm also blaming that on you.
Yeah.
But that was just.
I mean, that one really didn't work out, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was my fault. It was actually my fault that Tripolissy got frozen.
No, that one we can't put it on you, even though you are known to be quite the unlucky gamer. But I could have played better to avoid that situation anyway. But,
could have been done. You played great. You had a good run. I don't know if you've had a stream celebrating how fucking great you did tournament, but...
What am I celebrating? I didn't win anything.
But you did great. Like, think about what your seed was going into that. You probably must have been in, like, 100s?
If even.
There were a lot of really good people in that tournament. You got top 32? Talk to them.
Star Master, Fakes, literally the winner of Gymvitational. Who else? 48, an SPL player. All people who have been bested by Tetrafolium. Although actually, I only played 48. But
hey man, we take those.
Yeah. All right, that's enough stalling for ad revenue. We'll see you all for another time. Hopefully, Benji will be on again.
Yeah, we'll see. If you can afford to have me on for like 3 hour long videos.
Oh, you're the only person in ADV who can match my yap.
I don't know about that, but I can, yeah.